with the Vi here in second phase, because on blue side, FREECS decided to ban Kalista, so that gives T1 an extra little spot there. Vi is non-negotiable, so that's not a shocker to see.
Yep.
A little bit surprised to see the Taliyah ban, considering what Chronicler had to say there, but I guess they thought Pyongyang would just take it away.
Yep, I think it's very first pickable.
Yeah.
The Poppy is still up as well, which I think is another important one to think about here.
I think they'll probably just ban Jace, though. I do think that Poppy is very strong, and I think in the hands of a lot of our really strong teams can be an incredible tool. And even some of our lower level teams, like we saw Sponge get a ton of value out of it yesterday on DRX. But Jace gets banned, and Berserker, he's the main character. He's going to get his Varus lock in.
All right, let's see what they can actually do with this Varus pick. Of course, very, very strong, like you say, but does now give T1 a lot of opportunity to take a 1-2 punch in response. Could just be a bottom lane that they take away. You can see a bit of a grin on Ona's face there as well. I wonder what he is considering.
Yeah, I mean, he might be thinking about the Skarner pick here. It's still very strong, even though it hasn't been as favored recently. The victor here for Faker is very safe. Faker has liked to keep his champion pool where it is. He hasn't really strayed outside of the big main mids. You're not seeing too much Sylas out of Faker, seeing the Galio work out for him. And I like just a safe victor pick here in terms of the tier list and Faker's comfort.
Yep.
As that jungle pick is the big question here, although, like you said, they could just go for the bottom lane. And it'll be Guma's Jhin to come through. A pick I think he's really improved a lot on, and is definitely a bit of more comfort for him.
Yeah, I mean, this is something that Gumayusi's always been just good at, and you can also equalize the range, even extend it versus that Varus. So I kind of like that. As Pyongyang, we're having a look at what he is going to be piloting here in the Rise, potentially. Wonder whether this is going to be a mid-jungle lock-in. Of course, with the Victor face-up, you now get your opportunity to pick something into it. We've seen a lot of people take the Sylas angle. Pyongyang not going to go for that one. This time around, it will be the Rise instead, and you can see some nodding along here by Pyosik.
On one hand, I like this more than Sylas, because I think if you fall behind or you lose control, as we'll see Pyosik's Viego to come out. More on that later, but what I do like about this Rise is it gives you side lane power, it gives you a lot of agency even if you're behind, but it's going to require coordination to use its full potential, and that is where FREECS have not really been at their best, as this is a flex pick of this Pantheon. Will likely be jungle, but it is still open-ended how they want to play this one out, so that's a cool little boon for them.
I was kind of hoping that it was going to be triple flex Poppy instead in third rotation there, because it would have kind of been okay in the jungle matchup. You don't know what the top lane matchup is yet, but it could be that Dudu takes something that's a little bit poppyable, like a Jax. And Kerry is also always able to play it. I think now should definitely get banned away.
Do you think so? I wonder if there's any interest in trying to isolate Doran more in this top lane, as they'll ban Elise here, so also expecting that is going to be jungle Pantheon. And that could be one of the champs that could give you issues in the bottom lane. But I feel like with Varus and any ranged champion, and even with most melees, you feel pretty good into the Elise. But they're scared of Kerry as Elise here.
Yep.
I think it's a fair ban. Not the best necessarily, but not a bad one. Let's see what this final ban is going to be here. So banning the Mbessa away.
I actually thought that we'd be more likely to see a Gnar ban. I just feel like Dudu's about to play Gnar. That's where my waters are at.
Yeah, because it's just super safe, and you need that safety. The draft that also scales really well, has already the Rise for side lane power. I'm kind of with you on that one.
Where's the Poppy ban? I don't think they should get Poppy.
I don't know if you want to play Poppy into Varus necessarily.
So I guess maybe they're assuming they're not willing to pick support Poppy, which is probably what it would be, given the fact that the support Pantheon hasn't necessarily worked out so well.
But that is the flex that you have here as T1. Like they could make it work. They're going to ultimately go for Leona instead, which has a lot of synergy. I always love Jhin comps that have really strong engage. They have Pantheon, they have Leona now. That's more robust and more long range of a single target engage than the Poppy is. Still incredibly tanky, like Poppy with the Eclipse. So I like this a lot, because what Faker is on is just a control mage that does boom boom damage, that he's not really going to be setting up the Jhin. He's not going to be buying space for the Jhin. But now they have two champions that are really annoying to deal with that give Guma that space. as the Rel is going to be the answer here. A lot of counter engage potential here in DN FREECS, and if you burst somebody down, Pyosik starts getting those resets. Can be quite strong. Is it just going to be the Gnar? I'm feeling it.
I'm hoping that it is. You know, keep it simple. Would make some sense here. Give Dudu some comfort.
It's not Zeus on the other side this time.
Oh, instead, blind Jax into the top lane. I mean, that just invites like an R5 Poppy angle.
Yeah, or even an R5 Gnar feels pretty good here for Doran. GP was one of the ones that King would lock here.
Oh, the Malphite, that's fun.
Trundle. That's great with Jhin. Unironically, I feel like it's pretty good. I don't think that's, yeah, I don't think that's what he's necessarily going to lock here, but I like to see Doran flex a little bit.
Yeah, instead Doran is just going to take a leaf out of our book and lock in the Gnar. Depends on who you talk to about how the Jax Gnar matchup goes, but should be relatively even up there towards the top side and does give you a lot of teamfight power if you can get that Mega Gnar timing to work out. We know Doran's best thing is teamfighting.
Yeah.
And so him on the Gnar,
he's forgiveness, yeah.
All right. So that's the one that was highlighted in red there, ladies and gentlemen, just to make sure that they hammered that one home. We'll see whether it is going to be a victory here today. It's going to have to be in this game because T1 are on match point in this best of 3. Let's see whether DN FREECS can pull themselves together here in game number 2.
시간사의 협곡에 오신 것을 환영합니다.
All right, here we are, ladies and gentlemen, onto the Rift for the second game of the series. I'm expecting the DN FREECS going to look kind of okay for the first 10 minutes. That's my really aggressive take.
Yeah, a little out there.
I know. I'm known to really go out on a limb.
I mean, look, for the true DNF doomers out there, because there are a lot of them because they're 0 and 8.
Oh no, not the Troomers.
They're not seeing. Because they're too blind by their anger at the 08, they can't actually see the stable laning phase. But you and I see it, okay? Like, you and I know, like, you and I both knew as well when they had some pretty big leads in that game. We're like, well, let's see how this ends, because I'm not confident. But the laning is never really where disaster strikes. I'm not saying it's never happened, but it usually doesn't happen in the laning phase. You know, we're not seeing Berserker getting owned in the 2v2, even though Life had some weak performances in LCK Cup. We're not seeing Dudu getting solo killed every game. You know, it's Punyan and before him, Bulldog, having fine mid lane matchups. You know, it's just what happens when we get out. And I have a broken record on this, but it just, DNF keep being a broken record, so as a commentator, sometimes you just have to keep saying it. I hope we don't have to say it for the whole year, but something has to change for us to stop.
You will get a lot of practice saying it, though, so at least you'll get really good at saying it. So there's that. Like we were talking about, some okay laning. As Gumishi going to be able to clear up that last minion, but Berserker pretty comfortable here as he's sort of stuck in a 1v1, as that was a little cute there from Life. Love tap and then crash away. But it looks like T1 will be gaining that level 2. DNF going to have to give up control of the wave, but not going to be able to lose too much, and so everything is going to be fine. So far, top side of the map, Dudu has actually been putting on the pressure, as that minion not being found there really shows some missed synergy between the two laners on DNF's side. A little bit of a worry, but we are going to be able to get most of the rest. Turret going to mess up that last one, but it's okay for Berserker.
Yeah, pretty stable down there. Pretty stable here in the mid lane as well, as we have a bit of a fight.
Yeah, Carrier is very, very strong, but not after the Aftershock wears off. So that piercing arrow actually doing a lot of work. And to be honest, Varus into Leona kind of feels all right, because you can backload a lot of your damage if you hold onto those Blight stacks and wait until after the Eclipse and the Aftershock wear off before you pop it. So it's actually kind of cute with how that one works, assuming that you have the ability to do so, and he hasn't just engaged on you and you're dead, which could also.
It's a big caveat.
There's definitely some yeah buts in there.
Yeah. It looks like the topside matchup is going very well for Dudu. Maybe I shouldn't have doubted him as one of the Jaxes who could win the Gnar matchup early in the first few level series.
I mean, there was a time where we'd be like, Dudu, one of our best.
He was a top 3 top laner. He was
amazing.
He was top 3. He was.
Well, now he's also going to get some attention from his jungler. Pyosik going to be walking over a ward here, though, as Ona does cancel that back. Ward goes in, Pyosik goes out, information gathered, and it looks like Dudu is just going to be able to shove that wave in and go for a little bit of a reset. So that's a great start to this lane for the Jax. As Pungyan going to be spotted there by the ward Faker just put down, so he's going to be a little delayed on his reset. No harm, no foul.
It's a little scary, even though they have a lot of ward coverage. I'm like, I'm going to walk a little bit more left before I channel this recall. If Faker stopped me there, Owner might be lurking, but a lot of information will finally channel that back. Faker, full health is, here we go. Bit of an exchange again.
Yeah, Doran going to be losing some health bar, but of course he has a little bit of extra space, right? Because he does have his teleport still available. Probably shouldn't die right here.
No.
As the Empower does come through, Crush gets him out, but now the teleport back in from the Gnar is a lot more scary. There is a biscuit or two and a potion. But you can see Dudu already going to have to go for a reset here.
If the Mega Gnar wants to interact with you like that before he has items, like you're winning the trade, because he's in melee with you as Jax, he can't space you. But if you use teleport, he didn't, then you win the trade, but are you really winning when Doran shows up with full HP in the bottom lane and you have to walk?
It also is kind of cute, right? Because they kind of faked a potential... No, never mind. It was Doran actually starting off the lane swap, so Dudu actually just going to change his mind, walk over towards the bottom side, gets that wave shoved in, evens out the CS quite nicely as the Rune Prison is pretty good there from Pungyan, but not going to land the follow-up Q.
That was just a good lead here for T1 in terms of the tempo, and you know, Dudu had a nice little exchange there with Doran, but ultimately it doesn't matter too much here as he had teleport disadvantage, but still remains even in farm.
Ooh, Pyosik. Seeing what he can get done on this top side. Ona's Pantheon has been another one of his good champions. Like the Xin and the Pantheon have been just so amazing.
He likes it when the enemies can't hurt him when he presses a button.
Yeah, he does seem to utilize those buttons relatively well.
You should play Gwen
Throw it in here. It's a fair bit of damage onto Gumayusi, as we can see. Captive Audience going to connect there as Doran going aggressive. Does have level 6, but the Wallop not going to land, and he just used the ulti on the Jax a few moments prior as Pungyan, I think, loses out on that trade. The Chaos Storm going to get redirected towards the minions. Pyosik starting off these grubs, might be able to get that first one pretty comfortably. Let's see whether they can get more.
Yeah, he wants to get it without smiting, of course. The top trade going so well for Berserker, actually hitting all that damage on Naguma really allows for this to happen here for Pyosik, so he's feeling very good about this. In fact, should be able to secure 2 at least.
Yeah, nicely done.
For the second, and see, Owner is already heading down, so Pyosik knows he can commit to this third grub here, and I don't think there's going to be any punish whatsoever on the top side. As Pungyan remembered that his ultimate was not a combat ultimate and did end up losing out to Faker, but got his ult in exchange.
Yep. Dudu probably should know that there's a likely jungler towards his bottom side, as he's going to have to leap strike his way over, and all right, that'll do it. He's just fine.
Nice timing on that.
Yep, I guess he just knew that he wasn't in any danger as the Ignite already down onto Gumayusi. He's going to flash. This dive is dangerous, but still able to pick it up. Life just deciding that he's going to have to sacrifice himself as Carrier gets another kill. And Berserker not going to be able to challenge him for that one. So that, I would say, ladies and gentlemen, is a disaster.
Yeah, on one hand, I get it, because you saw the enemy jungler on the bottom side of the map.
Yeah.
So he wasn't there. On the other hand, that's a Leona.
Yeah.
So, and that's a turret, and they ramp, and, you know.
And I think Life actually played it as best he could, right? Like, he picks up the turret aggro, and, you know, they make sure that they can still take down Gumayusi after the flash, but then, yes, he dies.
And then the wave is thin.
The wave is thin, so the turret is still coming in. So
Faker, sorry, not Faker. Carrier does commit the flash there, which is one trade back. It's also 2 kills to a Leona now in this game, so that's not where you want the gold necessarily. But the kill didn't go to Berserker. I think Pyosik picking up the kill isn't the worst because he is playing Viego, but Berserker is the main character, let's be real.
Yep.
I think DNF fans were hoping that was going to be his pickup there, and I think that was the game plan with the gank, but...
I mean, I think actually the kill going to Pyosik is much better. I understand the thought process completely, but you're not a champion if you're Viego and you're not a threat. So.
I do agree with you in terms of what Viego is supposed to do, but nameplates on, I'm concerned.
Yeah. There's that Paperman conversation that you coined, of course. That does turn into a bit of a problematic situation. Faker dodged basically every Q, which is pretty impressive. Doran finding the combo onto Dudu here towards the bottom side.
Faker demonstrating that, you know, in his champion pool that he plays this season, which is somewhat small, he has great mastery.
Oh, yeah. And he has great mastery over a lot of champions, as we know. He's been playing this game a while. But the Victor certainly something that he is having a lot of success on. And you also just generally get outranged as the Rise.
Yeah.
And in this matchup anyway, so it's just a bit of a rough one.
Not respecting, but Pyosik is going to come over here.
Yeah, there's the flash in. As I don't know about the angle on the stun. The gravity field's fantastic there as well. And Faker gonna have to flash because there is a shattering strike coming on over, and Pyosik gets his second of the game.
All right, maybe it was good that Viego got the kill, you know?
Yeah, he's pretty scary now.
He may miss the flash stun, but still going to get a kill onto Faker there in the end, in part due to Life being in the area and rotating down. So that was a really nicely coordinated and called out play. We saw a few more moments like this in the LCK Cup, you know? Like we saw DNF do a lot of this with Bulldog where they're baiting and setting up for something, you know, Pyosik shows up or Life shows up and they end up getting these exchanges. Pyosik missing here gives Faker the confidence that he can flash away, but Life is also here. So ultimately he still goes down, tries to look for a trade kill, but doesn't find it. Using his flash on the play, really important here because this Victor is now very immobile and very at risk of a follow-up gank of any kind.
And that's also the reward that DNF got by holding all of their flashes on the top side of the map, right? Like, Life could have flashed out of turret range. That would have made sure that it was Pyosik that died. Pyosik could have flashed to try and get his way out after the Heartbreaker, but I think the turret shot was even in the air. But they didn't have to use any of them, right? So Pyosik gets to use it in that fight. Obviously, the flash looked a little comical, but it was because Faker walked forward.
Yeah.
And that means he's dead anyway. So DNF setting up for these plays quite nicely. Life, of course, his position fantastic there, but T1's still going to be able to get themselves the first dragon of the game. And next one going to be a Chemtech, so no back-to-back Chemtech souls, which we like to see, as Doran's spacing them pretty nice into the Counter-Strike.
See a small lead here for Berserker. Pyosik looking for more grubs here. They have full control over this pit. Faker doesn't have his flash. I don't think he's going to come down. They're going to look for a bottom play here instead on the Dudu.
Yeah, the Gnar stun into the turret, and Dudu does manage to at least get the Counter-Strike back as he throws down the ulti. Doran will need to pick up turret aggro, but I think that was a level up for Dudu. Look at him, eating through these cookies, feeling a whole lot better, but still, he's going to get taken down. Nice little hop to get Doran out of there, and it was a good attempt.
Yeah, it was nicely played there from Dudu. Really nice flash timing. Bought a lot of time, but now they need to make something happen here topside. They do end up with 6 grubs here, but I think they want a little bit more. Turret plate gold will feel nice, but I just don't think they can actually get anything done with carry up here topside.
This is going to be feats of strength if Doran is able to take down this turret.
And so far, you know, there's no answer. Dudu does not have teleport. If he clears this next wave, he might actually be able to get it. As Dudu has, of course, flash and Counter-Strike and waits until the last possible second here. Doran is backing away, thinking, okay, I need to drop this turret aggro. And then on the second dive, obviously, Doran just needs to pick this one up, so needs to play it very carefully, and that he does. Picks up the aggro before Owner. Owner secures the kill. But nice footwork there to at least force the second dive. And it then bought them more time to try to make something happen topside. I wish they didn't, but they got 6 grubs, which if Ajax gets any alone time in a side lane with those turrets is going to feel amazing here for the DN Freaks. Also a pretty fast pushing Rise as well. Will feel really happy if he's left alone in the side lane. Just ask BDD.
Deadly Flourish coming on down here as Gumiushi with a lot of damage onto Berserker, and now the curtains have been called. Let's see how the do-si-do goes here for Berserker as Solar Flare goes wide. That's a lot of ultis going in directions that they didn't really want to go, but still, that is a lot of pressure onto the DN Freaks 80 carry. Doran still realizing that things are a little bit difficult here in the 1v1 as there's the Magnet Storm. He tries to get himself out. Heartbreaker comes forward. There is the Grand Skyfall, and Dudu goes down once again. Doran is still alive, and Pyosik's on the wrong side of the map. A disastrous dive attempt here as Gumiushi down towards the bottom side, and the wallop will take down the Rel. And things are going wrong a little earlier this time around for the DN Freaks.
Yeah, this time, similarly to the top dive, they looked for the turret is their worst enemy, and Doran just is totally fine up there. And unlike the last time, they don't end up finding any success with their plays. Pungyan is now also 100% dead.
Yeah, the Realm Warp, an immediate Chaos Storm interruption as Pungyan realizes that he may as well try and clear the wave. And he does do that. He is surviving for quite some time, but that's another gravity field actually in the same little skirmish. Yeah. Kind of cute. Dudu down towards his bottom side will be able to at least save the sliver of health on this turret. Let's have a look at this fight one more time.
Has flash. Still gets caught, pops over, and then just walks back towards the turret here when the follow-up Heartbreaker comes through from Pyosik. Like, They really wanted to force it. I don't know how else to say it, but in this case, they could have played a little bit slower, but they knew the rotation would come through if they slow played. And they just felt really priced into that. I don't know if they should have, but ultimately that decision really backfiring. Because if they get him with 6 grubs, that turret's gone. You know, you deny that part of feats of strength for T1, who have the feats of warfare already unlocked. Like, it would have been a really nice play, but just not quite enough damage there, not quickly enough. And Doran handles it really well, hops, and then goes back towards the turret correctly instead of running top, which would have actually meant his demise.
Yeah, and now Gumacaria able to clear things out in this river, as the Jax might be able to get to this turret in time to stop it from going down, but it is very low. You can see the teleport coming in from Doran, and he just wants to finish this one off, but there is no wave, so he takes a turret shot for fun, and Carrier, he's going to turn up. Solar Flare doesn't connect. The Rel is in the area, but Dudu is still going down incredibly low. Good Shattering Strike there just to get him out, but now Pungyan having to deal with some attention on the top side as the stun comes through, and Pyoshik not going to be here in time. Just elects to get himself stunned as they take down the Rise yet again.
And that's feats of strength with the turret going down bottom side here. It's a very, you know, it's a moment you could zoom out and be like, all right, where is everyone on the map? And Pyoshik is neither defending, you know, his mid laner who's top side, nor is he defending the turret they committed a teleport for. Or actually, no, it was not a teleport they committed there, so my bad on that one. I thought they did actually commit to try to save that turret. But teleport-wise, Doran who commits in, and then they take it with Carrier's help. But that's one thing that didn't go as badly as I thought here for DNF, but still end up losing out on both sides of the map. And that shouldn't be happening even with the lead that T1 has. Now the lead's even bigger. Now they have feats of strength.
No, it's absolutely absurd.
And
it's a 4-0 Pantheon as well. It's the fact that the best performing player on T1 now has a gigantic lead.
Yeah. It's such a frustrating game to play out here, as it looks like DNF will at least get this Dragon back, trade it for a 1-for-1. We'll see what the Soul is, as it's not going to be Chemtech 2 games in a row, so at least that's a thumbs up for me, but...
Yep, it's going to be a Mountain Soul.
Okay.
But Faker is going to be taking down this outer turret. I mean, this is 6 grubs for DNF, and they're losing structures all over the map.
If you can't hit the turrets, they don't really end up getting much value, do they?
Yeah, this is the problem with the grub situation. Sort of, it's a bit of a win more scenario. And we remember the early stats for the 6 grubs. It was, what, 30% win rate or something like that?
I think it was even worse.
It was definitely very low.
But it usually means that the enemy team got something out of the 6 grubs you took, and that's exactly what T1 did. And winning on both sides of the map for T1, and then, okay, you got the Dragon, but Faker got a turret. You know, these are the kind of trades you want to take as T1 when you're already up a Dragon, so losing a Chemtech solo Dragon to be tied in Drakes isn't really an issue for you. Now they have Prio on this Rift Herald. We'll see a teleport here from Pungyan, and this may be the last stand here, the last fight for DNF.
Yep, Life is just going to move in, already down to half health. It's a teleport from the Jax to deliver him to the middle of this fight. It's going to be an honest 5v5 as Faker makes his way down. Boomerang value actually quite high there as the Black Magnustorm comes in from Life. They're going to see whether they can get the first kill in this fight. It's so important. The transformation is fantastic, but the first kill, it was T1's, and they line it up with a couple more as well. Now the curtains are being called. The Grand Starfall comes down, and Berserker, I don't think he's winning this battle against Owner, as Owner may actually get taken out here as Pungyan's over the wall, but instead he just flashes his way out of there. And T1, they only sacrifice Doran and they take everything.
Yeah, Doran also played the fight out incredibly well. You mentioned the transformation and tanked so much in the early part of the fight. No resets for Pyoshik, no angle to pop off on this Viego. And that's a Herald getting a charge here in mid, and they're looking for even more.
Yeah, Life underneath this turret, they do manage to get the secondary charge from Shelly before she does go down, as Pungyan desperately trying to deal with the wave. He does manage to do that as Faker takes a couple of turret shots, but this Gravity Field plus Deadly Flourish combination that T1 are using just looks very difficult to deal with.
It's super frustrating. T1 prove again that they're super good at objective setup and team fights. And this is just one of those fights where, as DNF, you feel like you just can't give up everything. You can't give up literally every objective that aren't grubs.
Solar Flare as well.
Solar Flare's clean. Doran's transformation just locks Dudu in place, and he goes down. And unfortunately, Viego, no ability to transform, no kills, no resets until Doran dies, and the fight is already over. And then Owner here is just so far ahead on this Pantheon, he doesn't care. Cares a little bit about that Q to come through from Pungyan, does ultimately flash away, even though it was a funny angle. But like, it's just these types of fights that remind you that T1 is a world-class defending world champion back-to-back team. And you give them a small angle, you give them control over an objective, and you try to just force the fight there, they win those.
Yeah, and now it's a 7.5 thousand gold lead, and something that DNF have not been able to handle against any other team in the LCK. And this team is called T1, and they have themselves in a really good spot, 5-0-3 for this Pantheon. I have a feeling I understand where POM may be projected to go.
Yeah, I think it might starfall right into my palm selection paper over here.
Yeah, there we go. Oh, that could even be a palm comment right there, or a comment. Good point.
Palmet is so sick.
That's a very good one. As Carrier doesn't quite find the ulti onto life. Gets himself out.
I mean, now T1 with this Jhin comp can really do no wrong. I mean, they can take any angle they want. And Pantheon goes in, 2 items, 5 kills, and Guma just presses R and follows up from so far away, there's just never going to be a punish. There's never going to be an angle, unless there's a flanking Jax, but T1 have all the angles covered. Look at the ward control, the vision control, the Jhin traps everywhere.
Yeah, there's not a lot of options here for the DN Freaks.
You know, captive audience can be quite useful for a lot of different things, but I'm not captivated right now here by DNF Freaks.
Yeah,
and I think the DNF audience, which is the section that we're on right now, is also not feeling captivated by the state of the game. And this is a reminder to everyone, they've won 3 games this season, and a loss here would be the 0-9 round robin, the winless one. And that's not what DNF wanted today. With a slumping T1, perhaps coming in mindset was good, but they just got outplayed by the team fighting and objective control that T1 has become world-renowned for. Pungyan.
Here's a bit of aggression as Carrier does find the Zenith Blade. Flash out, and that's good respect to be shown there, but still they get a key summoner spell from this Rise. Doran, that was a bit silly, but who cares? He can do whatever he likes here on this bottom side of the map, just keeping the pressure up. Next Dragon is coming up in a couple of seconds, but it looks like this Arakan is what T1 want to look towards. Vision is there for the DN Freaks.
Yeah, Dudu does have teleport. Pungyan has Realm Orb. And I said that last Hail Mary was going to be their last chance, but maybe there is a potential angle here. Life, no flash though to engage. This is going to be so tricky, and they're very split.
They really are. They just need to find something, some form of fight, even if they don't manage to deny this. As the Shattering Strike comes down, Doran's their target. They throw Pyoshik just towards the rest of the team. And Ona just left there to deal with this Arakan. Very happily does so because he's under no threat. As, was that a potential Realm Warp angle? It was not.
I don't think so. And there's no angle to get flowers either. And so petals galore here.
Is that going to be a 3-level advantage for Faker in mid?
No, not quite.
Might be very close to. Oh goodness me, that is not a lot of fun. Not one turret has been taken here by the DN Freaks.
Yeah, and it's just that type of fight, you know, where once life is seen and they know he doesn't have flash because they're tracking his timer. He has it now, but he didn't then. They're just like, okay, well, Doran, you just deal with that. We just hold the choke point and Owner solos the objective, and there's no angle for DNF. There's just absolutely no way in. And then they take the Otacon and walk away. It was just, you know, it was not that interesting in terms of the actual fight breaking out and kills going over, but in terms of technical league play, it was about as technical as it gets by T1. It's not leaving any openings.
Yeah, look at this. This is Doran just playing back, understanding that he's the one that's under threat. He was showing on the map, and nothing that Pyoshik could do, no angle to be found there. And in fact, he's able to stop these backs with that Crush Gnar combo. Now the Starfall comes in. Pyoshik not going to be able to save this Rise, who had his flash removed earlier on. So that is just a very, very dead bald blue guy.
You see the, you know, preemptive angles there. You know, Doran stops the backs, so it looks like, oh, a bit of a whiff there from Doran. No, not true. He stops the backs, and then they have the Starfall follow-up. They isolate the Rise and take him out. As Duda will pick up some bounty gold here in the first turret of the game for them, but it's in trade for an inner. And T1, I don't think, are feeling too bad about it. With 6 grubs, though, Dudu, if he gets enough time, might be able to take out a second one here. Yeah, if Faker's going to go respond.
If we disable the minimap of T1, then maybe, if Dudu is ignored for long enough, he can get a wave towards the Nexus.
Faker just comes over and says, well, that's the only turret you're going to take. And, okay.
Well, Owner has found life, but there is, life's kind of into that, as Berserker just going to throw a bunch of autos into, okay, does he just win this? Oh god, Owner is so scary. There is 990 gold going over to Pyosik once again as the Deadly Flourish comes down. Carrier could be dead. The resets are starting to come in, but perhaps the curtains have now been called. Dudu going to soak one of them. Pyosik soaks another as he heartbreaks his way out. So that's all they're going to get. Still, I guess it's a sign of maybe an overstep on the T1 side.
Happy game, little Hanwha gaming right there.
Yeah.
Taking a little page out of the Hanwha playbook as Owner shakes his head on the player cam. I think he just was like, all right, well, I thought we actually, maybe we miscalculated, maybe he thought Faker had teleport or something, and he's like, oh, okay, I'll just hold him here. You come over here, and we'll clean up the fight. Still ends up getting an insane amount of value. 1v3 here ultimately. And then Carrier comes over to try to salvage the play as Doran's rotating over, but again, neither of the Soul Laners had teleports, so this was, as they say, not the play. Although, is it enough to get DNF back in the game alone? No. That turret isn't enough to get them back into the game alone? No, but if T1 do start to stack up some big mistakes, I suppose there could be a world. But right now, not going to predict that outcome. 7,000 gold behind here for the DN Freaks.
But it's only 250 gold in the 80 carry position.
True.
That's all I got. That's where the cope ends, unfortunately.
He only has one death, Berserker.
Yeah. As Doran as well. Nah in a good spot here. I don't think Pungyan and Dudu are going to be doing anything to stop this Nah from pushing forward, as Owner will also be able to secure the blue buff for the team. Bounties are up, and remember they were up when Dudu was able to take that outer turret. That might be why the gold lead has shrunk just a little bit.
It's a little bit, obviously trading up in that fight too. Doran, 2 levels up.
Yeah, Pungyan gonna have to at least put him in some runic prison. He does manage to do that.
Area does have ult, so he might get interested.
Yeah. Flash is back up here for Pungyan as Doran taking a lot of damage. Zenith Blade doesn't quite connect there as Carrier's the one tanking, but Pungyan's still dead. Oh dear, the wallets be heavy.
They certainly do, and with a very easy to set up follow-up there with the Leona tanking the turret. It's just as simple as that. And now Doran does have TP if he had to join this Baron fight. I don't think he's that interested, though. I think he just wants to push this bottom wave in and start to then threaten there. As Life and Pyosik do show up, but it might be too late. Faker pulls off 4K on the Baron, and I just don't think there's any in here.
Nope, and Pyosik just backs away. They see the Chaos Storm, as we also see that we are indeed floating above Runeterra. Yeah, there was no real way. The Chaos Storm came down, Pyosik's like, I can't see in the storm, so I'm gonna have to leave. Teleport back down towards the bottom side. This is where Doran lives. He's got those upgraded shoes, 3 items, and like the third item for Dudu is a book. A silly little book.
I mean, the third item for Doran is a Wit's End, but it actually makes a lot of sense into the Rise he's been laning into.
Yep.
And it basically just makes him immortal in team fights because he is also level 17.
Oh my goodness.
And Dudu's just, he's not really having fun.
No. Life going to come on over and try and defend here as Pyosik as well, looking to try and put out fires where he can. It's a 4,000 gold lead in that top lane. As T1 look to siege this one out with their new Baron that they've put together. The Shattering Strike comes down once again. It's a very aggressive dive from Owner, who may actually get taken out here as Pyosik comes in. They do manage to get the kill on the Pantheon. The resets are starting to come in as Gumayusi could be in trouble. Pyosik is kind of scary, but it's Faker going absolute god mode here in the backline. Life going to be taken out. The death ray, my god, combined with the curtain call. T1 just say, yes, you do have a Viego, but unfortunately, it's not enough.
He's dead now.
Through a team fight.
Yep, and T1 with this wave coming through should be able to slowly end this game. Berserker looking for the outplay.
Oh, does not get it. That's going to be another 300 over to Doran. Pungyan does manage to get that, but it is a very swift execution here by Gumayusi. And T1, 2-0 over the DN Freaks, and unfortunately, 3 games. The entire round robin, and unfortunately none of them were in the same series. So the 0-9 has been